I did also hear what you phoned in and said to Saeed on Discord or wherever it may be. United, we were shocking at the weekend. Deserved victory for yourselves, LB.
Yeah, I think actually, I don't know what you think, but I think that just before you scored, obviously, I think you scored in like the 7th or 8th minute. I didn't think you guys looked up for it at all. I really don't. We was moving the ball well. I don't think you'd really had much of the ball at all. And I could see a couple of players not really giving it 100%. Ball goes down the other end. Rashford scores a screamer. Credit to him. You could see with the celebrations. I looked at Scott McTominay celebrating. You could almost tell that the players were in shock almost that they'd scored a goal. And then you sort of got into the game a little bit in that first half. And to be fair, you wasn't too bad in that first half. And if Rashford had his shooting boots on and maybe was a little bit better, you could have found yourself a further goal ahead. But of course, we had our own chances as well. But in the second half, mate, it was I just thought it was absolutely embarrassing. I've never seen Manchester United defend like that not just at the Etihad, just like at Old Trafford when we've played you. And by defending, I don't mean like defenders in like, oh, that's a great defensive performance, kind of like what you did at Liverpool. You just accepted in that second half that you was getting beat. You was played like a relegation side. When Luton Town come to the Etihad or Sheffield United, and I'm sure it's the same for Dan. Like, you kind of expect it, right? These are teams that have just been promoted from the Championship. Obviously, the first year, they don't want to be getting absolutely panned. You don't expect this from Man United. And I just thought it was completely embarrassing. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous that this manager is coming. And I'm hearing people say, well, what other choice did the manager have? Well, the manager's been here now, 18 months? At what point, like, are you going to say to the manager, like, going to the Etihad and sitting on the edge of the penalty area is probably not good enough? Like, you have to have something. Listen, and I don't know, obviously, the full details on Rashford about his fitness levels. And I thought that substitution was wild because he was literally the only... I don't particularly think he actually had a great game, but he was kind of like your only threat. Anthony came on and done nothing. Scott McTominay, don't remember him touching the ball at all. Casemiro looked leggy. Kobe Mainu, the only player in that midfield that can actually sort of play under pressure and play out, was subbed off as well. I just think everything the manager got wrong. And if it wasn't for Marcus Rashford sticking one into the top bins, I think it would have been 5 or 6. Because I think that sort of give you guys a little belief. And for 20, 30 minutes after the goal, you actually played all right. But it's just absolutely wild that that's the state of your football club at the moment. And I'm not even saying that as a bantery situation. I'm being deadly serious that, you guys have spent £1 billion since Ferguson left, and that's the best you've got to offer. You know what I mean? I just think it's
embarrassing. The way we played on the day didn't so much embarrass me. It was more the state of the club, if that makes sense. And I'm also at a point, I'm seeing Mark Goldbridge at the moment out here. I'd get rid of the players before the manager, consistently back in the manager. I just think, I understand it to a degree that we have to stick with the manager, but it has to be a manager who from the beginning, there's a genuine plan of action to improve us as a football team. Where we go by everything's always like written down on the back of a cigarette packet, on the back of a napkin. There is no real plan about what we've tried to achieve since Ten Hag's come in and all the previous managers. And you can see the proof in that. It comes to fruition on the field of play. And I am not frustrated at the players for not being up for it anymore. I've almost got to this point where I think, how can they be up for it when they know they're not being coached right, trained right, drilled right to be able to compete? Now, do I think City have better players than Manchester United? Yes. But I see worse teams with worse players than Man United put up a better fight. We, after 18 months under this manager, after £400 million invested into him, and plus hundreds of millions being spent prior to that, we should be able to put up a better fight against Manchester City. Yes, you've got Pep, and that is a game changer because he's the best manager in the world, but we should be able to put up a fight. And there is a lack of ideas. And you mentioned Mainu, and Mainu here is the standout example. The reason that he's the only guy that we have who looks good, his touch is good, his confidence is there, he likes playing through the lines, is because he's only just come through our academy. He hasn't been whittled down after 18 months, 2 years, 3 years of poor coaching, poor training. Non-Man United fans don't get this, and lots of Reds ignore it. There is no pathway between our academy into our first team. They play different styles of football. The club is so disjointed. It is unfreaking believable. And I think for me, that's the issue that I have most with Man United right now. It's the fans ignoring that notion. Now, I'm not even saying that Ten Hag's a bad coach. He may go elsewhere with a real plan, a proper structure, and do really well. He may do that, but it isn't going to happen for him at Man United. I want to read you guys the list here. And I've got a comment here that says, sorry, you're talking nonsense. That's not a rebuttal, my friend. Tell me what's nonsense and we can talk about it. I want to read you a list, okay, here. A list of records broken by Ten Hag. Strap yourselves in and get some popcorn. United hadn't lost 13 games by Christmas since 1939. And then Ten Hag came. Man United hadn't gone 4 games in a row without scoring since 1992 until Ten Hag. Man United hadn't finished in the bottom of their Champions League group since 2006 until Ten Hag. Man United hadn't lost back-to-back games to West Ham since 2007 until Ten Hag. No Man United manager has conceded 20 goals to Liverpool and City in their first 7 games against them since the 1800s. Manchester United have never finished with as few as 5 points in a Champions group stage in the competition's history until Ten Hag. No English club has ever conceded 15 goals in a Champions League group stage competition in history until Ten Hag. Man United have never lost 4 of their 6 Champions League games in the competition's history. Manchester United had never failed to keep a clean sheet in 5 of 6 Champions League group games in the competition's history. Manchester United had not lost 12 of their opening 23 games in a season ever. Bournemouth had never won at Old Trafford until Ten Hag. Bournemouth had never scored 3 goals at Old Trafford until Ten Hag. Bournemouth had never kept a clean sheet at Old Trafford until Ten Hag. Manchester United had never lost 7 of their opening 16 Premier League games. Man United hadn't lost back-to-back league games against Newcastle since 1972. Man United hadn't lost 3 games in a row to Newcastle since 1922. Manchester United hadn't lost 6 of their opening 14 league games in a season. I might have just gone backwards a bit here by mistake. No, I haven't. This is still going. Sorry. Man United had never conceded 3+ goals in 4 different Champions League games. Manchester United hadn't lost a game whilst leading by 2+ goals since 2014. Manchester United had never lost this many points from winning positions in Champions League history. Man United had not conceded 4+ goals to 2 Champions League group games ever until Ten Hag. No team had ever given away 4 penalties in their first 4 Champions League games. Manchester United hadn't lost 8 of their opening 15 games of a league campaign since 1962. Newcastle hadn't won at Old Trafford since 2013. Manchester United hadn't lost twice in a row. Sorry, I already mentioned that one against Newcastle. Galatasaray hadn't won a game on English soil in a 117-year existence. Man United had not lost their opening 2 Champions League games ever in the club's history. And Manchester United have never conceded 7 goals in their opening 2 Champions League games ever. That is the list of records that have been broken by Ten Hag.
Otherwise, okay, though.
Otherwise, brilliant. And this is the thing for me. I wouldn't say they're all his fault if you actually went into granular detail about all of them. But the players are not playing for him. They don't look as interested as they should. I'm not saying they're throwing him under the bus because they hate him and dislike him. I just think they're like, this isn't working. I look at some of our players who have regressed. And you don't need to like them. You don't need to rate them. This feeds into rivals' hands. But just go back and watch, boys. A Bruno compilation even from his first season at the club. Forget the goals and the assists. Just watch him on the ball. Go back and look at Rashford. I know he had a good year last year, but we've changed our style and system again. We were trying to play low block against City at the weekend, and we still were affording KDB the freedom of the parking behind our midfield. That's a system issue. The club is rotten. Any Man United fan deluding themselves that Ten Hag is going to turn this round, you're hurting the club. He needs to go in the summer. It's the first thing that the new sporting director, the new people running the club have got to do. I agree with Goldbridge. A number of these players have got to go if they don't want to be here. Open heart surgery is needed. A rebuild is needed because to play that way against City, home and away consistently for the past decade, it's just an embarrassment, especially since Pep has been there. Like we had some good results against you before Pep, but since then, I know we had a few good sort of smash and grabs with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Most of that was with no fans as well. But outside of that, It's an absolute abomination what my club has become. Those lists of records have been broken. Things like Galatasaray hadn't won on English soil in their existence until they played Man United. When
DJ, mate, DJ Ten Hag, he's breaking records, man. I tell you,
crazy.
he needs to
Defending
go.
it is
I can't
crazy.
actually believe he's still there. I can't believe like Mark Goldbridge. I think he's a wally. Like the standards are on the floor, mate. If he wants 10, he's not the problem. It's these players. If he's still sticking up for this, his standards. Didn't he grow up with Roy Keane and Paul Scholes in his side? Didn't he grow up with Sir Alex Ferguson? Didn't he grow up winning trophies? Didn't he see trebles?